Hello, welcome back to Blake's Den. So under this cover is my 1997 Rover Mini MPI Mini Cooper, and it's been tucked away in the garage all winter, and I'm recording this on the 6th of March, so it's time to come out and play. Conversely, tomorrow, 7th of March, will have happened by the time this video comes out, is the 13th anniversary of me owning this car. So yeah, so first thing I need to do is take it out of its cover. So it's a Stormforce cover, so I'm going to set you up and then I'm going to take this cover off. But even though this has been in the garage all winter, I have been moving it around and I have had it running, so it has been out a couple of times, only on my yard. But one of the issues I've got is, you see these perfectly round puddles of oil? So I'd pull the Mini forwards, I left it there for a day and I got those puddles. I know it's had a bit of an oil leak because there's bits all over the floor, but I don't know if you can see, but I actually have a sump guard under there, and I think the oil's come out one of those holes, just based upon the fact it's quite equally spaced, so I need to investigate what is going on there. Also, if you saw my video on the Defender, I'm a great fan of these C-Tech chargers. So I've had this fitted and turned on all winter. So all I need to do is just pop that off, and then we should be able to fire it up. So will it run? So we'll need to turn your immobiliser off. So it's got that. Key in, clutch in. All the lights have come on. There we are, started to find the battery is getting a bit flat. It's the complete wrong battery for this car. I need to buy another one this year. Right, I'm going to pull this out, let it warm up, and then we'll investigate this oil leak. Let this fully warm up, and then I've pulled it up the ramps. I did also check the oil level before I started. I know I didn't show that on camera, but now with this up in the air, we can go down and investigate where this oil's coming from. So let me grab the inspection lamp and have a look. Funny thing, I filled this up with Shell V-Power before I took it off the road for the winter, and that was £1.50 a litre, and I thought, that's ridiculous. It's now £1.70 a litre, so I've actually made money on it. I could take it out and sell it, but yeah, we'll not do that. Right, let's have a poke around under here. Underneath it looks very horrible. You can see some drips of oil there. All the orangey stuff is where I've had an oil leak before, and I think I've patched it up. I think that's a speedo drive. I think I also sheared off a bolt, which was suboptimal. I don't think it's coming from there. What I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to whip off this sump guard, and the sump guard is off and it's looking pretty disgusting. That's the underside, and that's the inside. So yeah, lots of build-up of stuff over time. Yeah, a few gouges in it as well, so it's definitely done its job. Underneath, it actually doesn't look too bad if I put the torch on. There's no obvious sign, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a bit of time, clean everything up, and then see if there's anything obvious. Well, I've been under here cleaning it up and I can't see anything obvious, so I didn't just blitz it straight away. I started methodically and tried to follow streaks and follow marks, and there's nothing really obvious. So I think there was previously a leak up there on the dipstick. I've always had problems with the dipstick on this car. It doesn't quite fit right. But I have found something a little bit further back on the drive shaft which might be of interest. So this is the driver's side drive shaft, and you can see it's quite oily, and that's even after I've cleaned it up, and you can just sort of see bits of weeping on it. So I'm wondering if the joint is gone. There's obviously oil all the way around here, but the key one for me is a lot of oil and greasy residue on the exhaust there. and you can smell it. You know, that's been my key problem. I can smell that oil when I turn the car off. Possibly only coming out when you're driving rather than when you're running. So, yeah, when the drive shaft's spinning, potentially. I've checked the gear linkage one, and you know, it looks a bit there. It's fine actually. It's actually got the mini spares secondary seal kit on, and the boot is fairly well perished, but I'm confident it's not coming from there, which is a normal failure point. So I think I'm going to run it a bit more, put it back in the garage with some card underneath, and come back tomorrow and see if there's anything obvious. It's now a few days later from when I filmed that previous video, and I've had the Mini in the garage, and I've had a piece of card underneath it, and I've marked that bit of card with a bit of chalk so I can sort of correspond where this sits under the car if it's got any leaks. But there's no leaks. I mean, that's just dirt which was on the floor. There's no oil leaks at all on there. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, whether it's just a leak when I drive it, or it's just such minimal leak, or was it historic oil which was burning off? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to change the oil anyway, so I'm going to get this jacked up and get the sump plug out. Jacked the Mini up using my Halford's low profile high lift trolley jack. I just jacked it up from the sump. I've also broken out my old Britool socket set to get a 15/16 socket, which will fit on the sump plug just nicely. So there we are. That should go on there. Yeah, so I'll crack that off, I'll get the bowl underneath, and hopefully we'll catch the moment where the oil comes out. That's coming loose now. Just applying inwards pressure on it so I don't lose the sump plug. There we are. So you would normally do this when your oil is warm. I'm doing it whilst my oil is cold. Doesn't really make a difference, it'll just take longer for it to come out. So I've got plenty of time. So I shall leave that draining. The sump plug is magnetic, and you can see how there's sort of debris attached to it. I mean, some of that is just gloopy oil as well. But obviously you can see if there's like loads of iron filings on there, then you've got problems. But actually it doesn't look too bad. So yeah, I'll clean that up, and yeah, think about putting some new oil in. Whilst the oil is draining there, I've taken the cap off just to make it breathe. And also I've put a wrench around the oil filter because that needs to come off too, and this is probably going to be tight, so let's see. No, I didn't have that gripped quite tight enough. Let's try again. There we are, it's just beginning to go now. Yeah, needed 2 hands to do it. But fun fact, the oil filter on these MPIs is a standard Rover K series oil filter. That was one of the changes between the SPI and the MPI. Right, I'll get that off, and then we're going to think about putting oil back in. One thing I forgot to say is you can always move this radiator pipe temporarily out of the way if it improves your access to the oil filter. But yeah, I've got that sort of finger tight now, so I will take that off. With the sump plug back in, you can see the oil just come out. It looks really sort of black and horrible, but I don't think it is. I think it's just how it's coming up on screen. It actually looks a bit cleaner to the bare eye. Obviously, one advantage of doing it cold is your oil filter doesn't fill up with oil, so you don't get that everywhere. So I've got the new oil filter to go on here. Also as well, oil. If you want to start an argument on a Mini forum or Facebook page, ask what oil to put in the classic Mini. Everybody has an opinion on it. Personally, I use this stuff. It's Miller's. It's designed specifically for classic Minis and for what does it say? Sort of gearbox and sump engines, or yeah, integral gearbox. So like your Maestros, Metros, basically anything front wheel drive A series. Yeah, I use that. I've used it for about 10 years and I'm really happy with it. It's thick, but it's got a nice feel to it. You can feel the oil warm up. It reminds you when it's cold, so you don't thrash it. Some people put any old rubbish in. You can get just 20W50 cheapo stuff. I think the actual Rover handbook for this says 15W40, but I think that was just to standardise the oil across the Rover range. So anyway, that's what I use, and I think it's about 4.8 litres it takes. So I'm going to put a bit of oil around the O-ring there, just to moisten that up. I'll get that oil filter back on. So I've got the sun plug in and nipped up. I just need to wipe around it, and then we can start filling it back up again. So that's the oil filled up to the max mark. Quite hard to film and quite difficult to see. I had a few spillages when I put it in, so it's a little bit oily, but I've cleaned it up. I've also put the mileage and the date on the oil filter. I can't remember actually the last time I changed oil. I think it was about 3 years ago. Sounds bad, but I'll be lucky if I've done 3,000 miles in that period. And another thing I wanted to say about the Miller's oil as well, it comes in a tin, so you're reducing your plastic waste. Tiny bit of plastic, there's a little spout which comes out, but yeah, minimising plastic waste. Plus it looks nice, you can put it on the shelf in the garage and looks quite nice. Right, pull the car out, I'll get the sump guard back on, and then I've got one more job to do. So when you put the sump guard back on, it's really important that you space it out from the front subframe. If you don't space it out, it would sit something like that, and it would actually be touching the fins of the gearbox. Now, the gearbox oil and the engine oil are the same, so the oil's obviously working a bit harder, so these fins are to help cool the gearbox. And obviously if you got this flat up against it, you don't get the cooling. So what I use is a load of washers and occasionally an oversized nut, and then I use that to space it out. So right, I'm going to whiz that back on, and then yeah, get the car back level and check the oil again, because I know that the filter will have absorbed some. And with the sump guard back on, you can see what I mean about the clearance, how you need to have that bit of an air gap between the gearbox and the sump guard. Back in the garage, and I'm going to fit a new battery to this. I've got this carpeted boot liner in here, so I need to take all of this out to get to the battery, which is down here. With that all out, you can see what we've got. So I've got my spare wheel here with gloves in it and a toolkit in a random bungee cord, because you can never have enough bungees. I've got a wheel wrench, duct tape, because if something moves too much you need duct tape, and if something doesn't move you need WD-40. I've got water there. That's a screen wash bottle, very awkward to fill. And I've also got a little 1 litre bottle of oil as well for emergencies. So this is the battery I had in, really small. I actually bought this for one of my ride-on lawnmowers. Yeah, but it was actually the same battery as what you would have on an old Mini, sort of in 998 from the sort of 70s, that sort of thing. So yeah, far too small, and I'm going to take that out and replace it with something better. So it should come out easy. Just undo the negative terminal and the positive terminal, and I've also got my little jump lead on for my C-Tech charger. You call that a battery? This is a battery. So what we've done there, we've gone from 45 amp hours 360 cold crank to 60 amp hours 570 cold crank. So a lot more powerful battery. One thing you'd need to do if you do this is, one, check the battery fits. I know this fits because I used to have one the exact same size in the car before the ECU died. And two, make sure that your positive and negative terminals and your earth leads underneath the engine are really good condition, because when you turn the ignition to crank, it will draw as much current as it wants, and if those aren't up to scratch, you'll just melt them. So right, I'll drop this new battery in and get finished. There we are, battery's a nice fit in there. I'll put the details below as to which battery type it is. So I think it's a 075, which is the same as a 065, but I'll put the sizes in, but I know that's a good fit. What I don't have is a battery clamp and like the little cardboard cover which goes over. To be honest, I've never bothered with those. The battery's wedged in there with bits of wood. I then put the boot cover on and it doesn't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's got nowhere to go to. And that's been fine for the last 13 years. So I'm going to keep doing that. Right, get it all back together, then we're done. And we're done. So it's all back together now. Checked the oil, give it a quick top up. And yeah, it was all fine. Got the new battery on. And I've got that charging away as well on the C-Tech charger. So hopefully this will be ready for its MOT. I've got the MOT on Tuesday. So if it passes, yay. If it doesn't pass, then, well, I guess you'll get another video. So thank you for watching. If you've liked this video, please press the like button. Please subscribe as well. Drop me a comment below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.